Fewer coding jobs than ever are staying safe today, and at the same time, new AI tools are writing more code every year. But if machines can already build apps in seconds, why do companies still need so many programmers? Because if nobody needs to hire entry-level engineers, then why do salaries in tech keep climbing every single year?
A new study out today predicting almost half of all global jobs could be affected by artificial intelligence.
That 40% of all jobs around the world will be impacted by AI.
And found AI could replace 300 million full-time jobs, including positions in the legal and engineering fields.
So far, there are 9 robots here doing the work of more than 250 humans.
Career in coding should be the bedrock of your financial life. It gives you stable income while building equity in a skill set that you can one day call your own.
So if you can land a role, your earnings will be high now and even higher in the future.
You already know this, but if you're in the 85% of my audience who want to work in tech, it's probably because you can't break into the field. According to a report by Indeed, the demand for software development went through a dramatic cycle. The overall volume peaked at an index of 240 in early 2022, more than double pre-pandemic levels, 100. The market then crashed sharply, falling to an index of only 63.63 by late 2025. This means the total volume of developer jobs is now approximately 36% lower than the 2020 baseline. The researchers conducting the survey concluded that developer opportunities are at their lowest point in history. But what's the end game here? If people can't get jobs, then salaries can't keep climbing anymore. Wrong. I don't want to make another one of those dramatic tech videos about how AI will replace coders tomorrow, but there are 3 reasons why things could get a lot worse before they get better. The first reason to understand is that coding jobs don't have to be everywhere for you to get one. That might sound strange, but there's a whole industry built around making that possible. You don't need a perfect long-term career path to start in tech. All you really need is an entry-level position. Right now, the demand for programmers doesn't match the growing supply. The number of coding graduates has risen much faster than the number of people tech companies are actually hiring. Junior roles in particular are increasing, but only at a fraction of that pace. Even so, new developers are still finding ways to break into the field. According to data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the median annual wage for software developers in the U.S. rose from about $110,000 in 2020 to around $133,000 in 2024, an increase of roughly 20% over 4 years. Meanwhile, the median full-time American earns about $62,000 a year before taxes. After Uncle Sam takes his cut, federal, state, and payroll, the average worker actually pockets closer to $48,000 to $51,000. So even if a new programmer starts slightly above that line, they're still fighting for space in a market crowded with tens of thousands of fresh grads, all chasing a limited pool of entry-level tech jobs. Why? Because entry-level openings aren't growing any faster than they are. Sure, new coders might earn more on paper than the typical worker, but most aren't earning at all. They're just stacking skills, not paychecks. So that 100% effort ends up translating to maybe 10% or even 5% real success. And that's the brutal part. Most people can't even afford to chase the dream. No paid internships, no relocation budget, just raw hope. 10% odds sound doable until you realize those odds only exist to maintain the race, not win it. Meanwhile, companies know exactly what they're doing. They've shifted the finish line on purpose because a flooded market of desperate beginners keeps wages low and expectations high. According to various industry reports, the average entry-level role is often considered to be for those with 0 to 1 years of experience. The many job descriptions ask for more. For example, some compensation data sites classify a junior role as having 1 to 3 years of experience, and intermediate as 4 to 6 years. If the bar is set this high, salaries can keep rising to multiples of the average worker's income, long before it becomes truly impossible to get in. Today, landing your first stable tech job is starting to look like a marathon. For new graduates, that can mean anywhere from a few months to over a year of trying, depending on the economy, the company, and whether you've managed to collect a few golden tickets called internships. Because here's the secret no one talks about. If you only need to secure one internship, just one, salaries could rise endlessly before that barrier feels absolute. With a single lucky break, you can leap into the market. So if you apply relentlessly, maybe 100, 200 times, a 10% success rate might still get you a foot in the door. That's not luck, that's math. And if that sounds brutal, it is. But it's not impossible. Discipline and sacrifice can still beat the odds. For everyone else, the system is evolving again. Some companies are now testing a new concept: apprenticeships, roles that pay almost nothing just to prove you can do the work. Think of it as the 1% down payment of the career world, a way for people with zero career capital to make the biggest professional investment of their lives. Meanwhile, senior engineers are earning more money than ever. Yet, strangely, the barrier to entry is being lowered just as fast. But that only gets you in the interview room, because once you're in, a different game begins: keeping the job. And if you can't meet the ever-rising expectations, what hope do you have of staying? This is the paradox of modern tech. The door is always open, but the floor keeps rising. So why is this circus getting more competitive every year, even when nobody seems to be landing stable roles? Simple: because nobody's leaving them. Job mobility in tech has become something of a slow-motion story, not frozen, but suspended. LinkedIn's economic graph shows that hiring across all U.S. industries slowed steadily through 2023 and into early 2024, continuing a cooling trend that began back in spring 2022. This slowdown didn't just freeze the job market, it stretched time itself. Workers who once jumped from company to company now stay put. Tenure is lengthening. Careers are stagnating in place. Many developers already made their big move during the remote work boom, a chaotic few years when everyone was switching teams, time zones, and sometimes even countries. The market remains active, but many hires and departures are pausing. A Robert Half survey, July 2025, finds 73% of U.S. workers plan to stay in their current roles through the year. This gridlock reflects employees prioritizing stability and flexibility over higher-risk salary increases. So, who is still hiring? Well, 3 groups maintain industry activity. First, deep-pocketed companies.
Financial Express reports that Google and Microsoft are eliminating mid-level roles to fund superstar AI and research talent. These firms trade multiple average engineers for one specialist in fields like tensor chip design or LLM training. Second, people relocating. Indeed's hiring lab in July 2025 shows tech postings in Austin fell 28% below pre-pandemic levels, while non-tech postings rose 11%. This creates a paradox. The city seems active due to high-earning remote workers, though local tech hiring has cooled. Third, investor. The 2025 Stack Overflow Developer Survey finds 84% of developers use AI tools daily. Investors rely on AI to replace junior teams with AI-Augmented seniors, viewing engineers as cost centers rather than growth engines. The reality? Software demand remains high, but production methods are changing. Crunchbase's 2025 tracker reports over 126,000 tech layoffs this year. This creates a perpetual probation environment, keeping wages suppressed despite high talent supply. Contractors face limited protection. Robert Half in August 2025 shows 71% would consider contracting, but companies use these roles for flexibility, effectively easy termination. The gig shift places financial risk on developers, who lose benefits and severance. Finally, wealthy tech founders retain power. UNCAD 2025 Technology and Innovation Report notes, AI infrastructure is concentrated in a few techno-feudal giants. The startup meritocracy is ending. Entry now requires massive computing resources, creating a digital nobility that may last generations. Some American billionaires have already reached this level.